Hey, I'm Brian, and on Monday, OnePlus invited me and a bunch of other members of the European tech press out to Berlin to have some snacks and, of course, go hands-on with their new OnePlus 6T. I actually find it interesting that OnePlus put a lot of emphasis on only creating a T device if they think the advancement in technology warrants it. But yet, the OnePlus 6T is a pretty minor upgrade. But why don't you see for yourself? Of course, the main new thing is the in-display fingerprint sensor. It's not as fast as the one on the back of the OnePlus 6, and it's also a lot more inconsistent. It misreads your fingerprint a lot more, and you also have to put your finger just in the right place so the phone can recognize it at all. So it's kind of a compromise, because it's not as fast as the one on the back, but it's still kind of cool to see this technology in a phone, and it is definitely on a usable level in terms of speed. And the missing fingerprint sensor on the back is of course the first aesthetic change, but the biggest ones are on the front. The notch is now significantly smaller, and so is the chin. It actually looks a lot more futuristic than the 6, and I think that's a welcome and refreshing change. But the nicer looking smaller notch also leads to you losing the RGB notification light, and the speaker is now a little slid above said notch. The phone itself is also a bit taller, which means that you get 60 more pixels vertical, it's now 19.5:9 aspect ratio, and a bit narrower. And it's also thicker. That's because you now have a 3700 mAh battery inside that's 23% more than the OnePlus 6, and that already had great battery life, so the 6T is probably even better. And of course it also supports fast charging with OnePlus's Fast Charge. Yes, it's actually not Dash Charge anymore, that dispute is a thing. But apparently just getting thicker wasn't enough to fit in that bigger battery, so the headphone jack is also gone. I don't really care about it, I use all wireless headphones, but I know a lot of you will cry after it, but I'm sorry, that train has left the station. And that's basically already it for the significant changes on the OnePlus 6T. On the back are the same cameras, 16 megapixels and 20 megapixels, both with f1.7, and the main sensor has OIS, and on the front is the same 16 megapixel camera. But there's now some new software called Nightscape that should produce a lot better images at night, with higher detail and more brightness. And from the bad lighting in the hands-on area at the event, I could already see that it's working pretty well. But of course these features are just software, so that will come to the OnePlus 6 via an update too. So will the new studio lighting effects that they stole from Apple. And something they also stole from Apple are the new gestures. But this I actually don't mind as much because they are now a lot smoother and work a lot better. And you can also now long press the power button to invoke the Google Assistant, so you can still use that even if you have the full screen gestures enabled, which didn't used to be the case. Apart from that, OxygenOS is of course still super close to stock Android, so that will lead to some pretty great performance. And the specs, speaking of performance, are still pretty much the same as in the OnePlus 6. You still have the Snapdragon 845, 6 or 8 GB of RAM, but now 128 or 256 GB of storage. There's no 64 GB option anymore. And what are the prices for the variants? Well, the smallest option with 6 GB of RAM and 128 GB of storage only comes in mirror black and will cost $549. The mid-tier option with 8 GB of RAM and 128 GB of storage will be available in both midnight black and mirror black and will cost $579. And the highest end option will only be available in midnight black and have 8 GB of RAM and 256 GB of storage. All of these prices are the same in euros and in dollars. But in the US, you can now also get the OnePlus 6T on T-Mobile as a carrier subsidized device, and if you trade in your old device, you get $300 off. And that even works back to the OnePlus One. So if you trade in the OnePlus One, the OnePlus 6T will only cost you $11 a month. And that's a really good deal. But if you want to buy it outright, you can do that starting November 1st in the US and November 6th in Europe. And actually, if you go to the link in the description right now, you can already secure yourself a $20/euro coupon that you can use towards your order once you order your OnePlus 6T. Alongside the OnePlus 6T, OnePlus also announced new bullets with a Type-C connector, so you can use them without an adapter, and that adapter is also now sold separately, but also included in the box. And the new OnePlus Explorer backpack was also announced. So what do I think of the 6T? Well, as I said before, I don't really know if this was necessary because the in-screen fingerprint sensor is kind of a mixed bag and that's the main selling point. But that said, it's still a better phone than the OnePlus 6 and it's just as attractively priced, so I guess there's really no complaint here. I look forward to spending some more time with the OnePlus 6T. But for now, if you enjoyed this video, you know which buttons to press, and don't forget to press that follow button on Twitter. I'm Brian, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.